In 2025, buyers are looking for basic transportation, affordable transportation, and also simple daily drivers, to a point where you have people like Jeff Bezos investing in vehicles that don't even give you power windows and no infotainment system. I'm referencing that EV that's now being shown all across the internet, which should be priced around $20,000 to $25,000, which is huge in this market. If you're someone looking for a subcompact crossover that at least gives you power windows, well, you're in luck with a 2025 Toyota Corolla Cross L. Now, this is a vehicle that comes in below $30,000. It will give you an infotainment system. It will give you analog gauges. But the question is, does it give you enough to justify its price? And also, is it enough to be a great daily driver? Well, that's why I am here, to find answers to those questions. In today's video, we're going to check out the exterior of this model, also the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why, if you're looking for a practical daily driver that's also somewhat efficient, then maybe taking a look at the 2025 Corolla Cross L might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to AutoFair Toyota in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, for letting me come down here to check out the Toyota Corolla Cross L. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Toyota inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2025 Toyota Corolla Cross L with all-wheel drive, you're looking at a starting cost of just under $25,500. But if you really want a vehicle that is affordable, go with the front-wheel drive version, and that comes in below $25 grand. Now, with that being said though, you could make the argument you get what you pay for. However, with the Corolla Cross, for this vehicle, its platform that it's built on, and its overall practicality and size, it becomes a very intriguing proposition, especially at around $25,000, because you pair the all-wheel drive system with this model and you do get a ground clearance of 8.1 inches. So somewhat versatile here. That's not too far off the 8.7 inches of ground clearance from the Subaru Crosstrek. So if you are looking for a vehicle that is going to be versatile and also a crossover that can take you through snow-covered roadways, going with the Corolla Cross at $25,000 with the all-wheel drive system will make a lot of sense. Now, as you can tell from the exterior of this model, it's a bit bigger than some subcompact crossovers out there, because most vehicles in this market are basically lifted hatchbacks. But with the Corolla Cross, it kind of doesn't look like the Corolla it's based on. So you do have a higher roof line, also you have the cladding around the wheel arches, side profile, front and rear bumpers, so it looks a bit more rugged. Now, in some ways, it is a smaller Toyota RAV4, which does make it a bit more appealing compared to vehicles like a Chevrolet Trax, which is front-wheel drive only. Now, the rest of the exterior, though, for 2025 carries over from the prior model year. There's no mid-cycle refresh, although this model does need one desperately, just taking a look at its technology, not necessarily the aesthetics of this model, but it has been around for quite some time. So up front, you are going to receive LED headlights, but not LED daytime running lights. So there is some aspects here where this vehicle is starting to show its age, but also its price point as well. Now, you don't have fog lights either, but that is available on higher trims. You are going to notice some gloss black trim outlining the front grille, which the grille is a bit more of a plastic material here, again, reflecting this crossover's price point. For the lower portion of the front bumper, you're going to have that cladding, which is pretty aggressive for this model, and you will have some more vents for the lower portion of the front bumper as well. So a vehicle that looks somewhat rugged, but also possibly even capable. Then as you make your way over the side profile, with the L, you will have 17-inch alloy wheels with hubcaps. And we saw that with the Corolla LE for 2025 last year, so no surprises there. 17-inch wheels will be a great pairing for a model like this, because that will help out with the ride quality and also dimming down some of that road noise, especially since this model isn't going to have all the interior insulation like you're going to find on the LE or XLE. Now, with the side mirror caps, they are in more of a plastic material here. They're not body color matched. No turn signal indicators and no blind spot detection for this model either. Also, we are missing the roof rails, which would make this vehicle look a bit more substantial on the roadways. But again, this is the L, so if you want some of those aesthetics, you're going to go higher up in the trim levels for 2025. As you make your way around to the back with the Toyota Corolla Cross, you are going to have LED brake lights. That is right. Some manufacturers don't even provide that, such as the Subaru Crosstrek. Now, just like that Crosstrek, you won't have LED turn signal indicators, which you don't really expect, nor do you demand at around $25,000 to $26,000. I think really though for this vehicle, it's the shape of this crossover, the higher roofline, squared off body lines. That will have a huge effect on interior space and overall practicality, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then as you make your way down towards the lower portion of the rear fascia, you will have that cladding here once again to deflect that road salt or road debris when you are driving in the winter, or maybe even when you are taking this vehicle off-road with that ground clearance and all-wheel drive system. Surprisingly, you are going to have a color-matched rear diffuser. That's kind of cool to see here for a vehicle in this market. And beneath that, you will have that visible exhaust outlet. If you want to go with a hybrid, I think it looks a bit sleeker here for 2025, but that's up to you to decide. And while we're taking a look at the rear fascia, might as well go over the cargo area for the Toyota Corolla Cross. Now with the L, no surprises here, you're not going to receive a power liftgate, but it is available for 2025 with the XLE. Now inside, behind the second row of seats, you're looking at somewhere between 17 and 19 cubic feet of room, depending on which drivetrain you go with. Front wheel drive, you have right around 19 to 20 cubic feet of room, whereas ours today, since we have all-wheel drive, close to 17. Now, this isn't going to be the first time I think Toyota is underselling their product, because this is actually a very spacious cargo area, similar to what you're going to find out of a Chevrolet Trax, Mazda CX-30, Subaru Crosstrek, and other subcompacts in this market. I was able to fit all my camera gear today with no issues. That's 3 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod. Also, we have a higher roof line here with the Toyota Corolla Cross. So you can stack up a lot of items back here, making it very versatile and family friendly if you are going on frequent road trips throughout the year. On top of this, you will have deep side pockets for some smaller items, maybe a couple water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. Also, through accessories from Toyota, you can get a rear cargo cover, which will keep all your valuable items out of sight. So if you are like me and you have camera gear or anything else of value, you can leave them back here and have that peace of mind knowing that no one will be able to peek in and steal what you have. Beneath the floor mat, you are going to find a spare tire. That is huge. So if you encounter a flat on those road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. And then with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right on 47 cubic feet of room. Once again, falls right in line with many subcompacts in this market. But I personally think, at least with the eye test, there's a lot more space here than what you're going to be seeing on paper. So I think that if practicality is something that you are focusing on right now for your next subcompact crossover and daily driver, the Corolla Cross should be on your list of considerations in this market, especially under $30,000. Hopping inside the Toyota Corolla Cross L for 2025, you are greeted by cloth seats. That's basically it. That's where it all stops for the seats. They're not heated. They're not power adjustable. If you need that out of a Toyota Corolla Cross, go higher up in the trim levels, more specifically the XLE. I think the XLE is very well equipped, and also for a vehicle that starts below the Toyota RAV4, it is a solid alternative if you don't want to spend over $30,000 or $35,000 for your next daily driver. Regarding the comfort for these seats though, the cloth upholstery is actually quite nice. Now, for most vehicles, you're going to notice the stiffness of the seats. They're not going to be that comfortable, but there is some plushness and some support here, which does go a long way. For the bottoms of these seats, there are some cushioning, so that way you're not going to be dealing with any type of fatigue if you are driving this vehicle on longer road trips or longer commutes. Also, the bolstering is pretty good too, so that way when you are on some winding back roads, you shouldn't be swaying around too much in these seats. I think you're going to find yourself quite snug being behind the wheel of the Corolla Cross. The rest of the interior, though, pretty much tells you this vehicle starts under $26,000. No full digital gauge cluster, no large infotainment system, no dual zone climate control, no power moonroof. But for a vehicle at $26,000, most rivals aren't offering any of those features here in this market. In front of you will be analog gauges with a small information display in the center, which we will talk about in about 30 seconds from now. On the steering wheel, you will have buttons to help you control that information display, but also volume, tuning, and then you have a button that helps you change from AM, FM, and Sirius XM, and you will have buttons for your adaptive cruise control here for the L, which is great to see. The steering wheel is not going to be soft text wrapped, so kind of firm here. Not too aggressive 10 and 2 or firm 9.3 grips, but again, this is a vehicle priced at around $26,000. I'm not expecting anything different here. Now, with that information display, you can scroll through a variety of information and customize what you see from this screen in front of you. A lot of this is basic info though, such as fuel economy, your adaptive cruise control, your tire pressure monitoring system, really just the basic necessities here out of a vehicle in this market. You can also check out your torque distribution as well, which is pretty cool since we have all-wheel drive. You can also change up that radio, like I said before. And from here, you can turn on or off your safety systems. Now, surprisingly though, despite the fact we have all these safety systems here in place, we don't have blind spot detection. So you have to go higher up in the trim levels to receive that if that is a must-have. So go with the LE or XLE. But with this information display, we have seen this numerous times in the Corolla product line, whether it is the sedan, hatchback, or a crossover. I will say though that there needs to be a mid-cycle refresh for this model regarding the technology, because some manufacturers are giving you full digital displays even at around $25,000 or $26,000. Now, taking a look at the infotainment system, this is a smaller head unit with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, but this right here is not something that I'm going to really focus on regarding the size or its functionality, because this is the exact same software we see in the most expensive products for Toyota. It's just that it's in a smaller screen and smaller package. You can subscribe for onboard navigation, but through Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you can just use Google Maps or Waze, so I don't think that's necessary at all. On the left side of the screen will be quick access icons for different menus, such as that navigation system, but also the radio, your phone connectivity, then your vehicle settings as well for trip information, vehicle alert, and then your general tab. So your general settings are everything that pertains to your personal info, Bluetooth and devices, general notifications, Wi-Fi display, sound media, vehicle customize, and voice and search. So you can scroll through all this on your own time and at your own discretion. If you are at the dealership though, and you're looking at a Cross L, or maybe looking at a Toyota RAV4, Sequoia, and you look at the infotainment system, there's no differences here. So don't feel bad by going with a Corolla Cross L for 2025. It's all the same here within the Toyota product line, and you might even find some of this technology in Lexus products as well. Now, in placing the Cross L in reverse, you are going to receive a rear backup camera, but no trajectory, but the lines are there. I'm not expecting anything else for a crossover that comes in at around $26,000. So basic safety, basic technology, maybe some of you are looking for that out of your next daily driver. And beneath that, you are going to find a single row of buttons and dials for your single zone climate control, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. Like I said before, heated front seats are not equipped on this vehicle. Then beneath that will be another row of buttons, or lack thereof, which are not filled in, but you will have a USB-C outlet here. So on higher trims, you might notice that some of these are filled in if you're looking at an LE or XLE. Beneath that will be a storage compartment for a smartphone or a wallet. Then for the center console itself, you will have your gear selector here, which is flanked by gloss black trim. We see this all the time in vehicles in this market, so I'm not surprised by that at all. You can have your traction control on and off button, auto start stop. Then next that will be your electronic parking brake and auto vehicle hold. You have two cup holders. Then for the standard storage compartment, there is enough room for some smaller items. It's not super deep here, but you can store a wallet or smartphone, and there will be another USB-C input and 12-volt outlet. Then rounding out the front seating area, we don't have a power moonroof, but it is available for the Corolla Cross for 2025. Then for passengers in the second row, this right here is where I think Toyota is underselling their products, because you have right around 32 inches of legroom. And to put that into perspective, that's less than a Subaru Crosstrek and Mazda CX-30. I am not buying that at all, because with the Mazda CX-30, you can leave the seats a bit further up and you're still feeling cramped or claustrophobic. That is not going to be the case here with the Corolla Cross. You can definitely have average size adults sit back here relatively comfortably, and also you can have smaller kids grow up in this vehicle, more importantly, with this being a family-friendly subcompact crossover. Better yet, with the Corolla Cross not looking like a lifted hatchback, you have plenty of headroom here. You have a higher roofline, so taller passengers will not be hitting their head on the headliner. The only drawback here with the L is that the cloth upholstery is quite firm, so it's not very comfortable sitting in the back of this vehicle, and I think you might want to go with the LE or XLE for additional comfort. But for basic transportation, this is more than enough for most Americans. Now, I do think you can try squeezing in a third person in the center, despite the fact you do have an aggressive center hump. The Corolla Cross is somewhat wide, so you have a bit more shoulder room and leg room, making this vehicle somewhat versatile. Now, back here with the L, you are going to have two center mounted air vents. That is rare to find. Not a lot of vehicles give you center mounted air vents for the second row for a vehicle under $30,000. Now, no surprises here. There's no 12-volt outlet or USB-C inputs. Also, no center armrest with two cup holders, which I'm a bit disappointed by. However, there is cup holders on the door panels. So what is the most basic form of transportation in the Toyota product line gets you at $27,000 for performance? Well, you do get a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine producing 169 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with the CVT. And for fuel economy, you're looking at a combined average of 30 miles per gallon. Really not too bad here. Also, like we talked about before, a good amount of practicality for this vehicle. What Toyota is banking on is that the Corolla Cross does outsize many subcompacts under $30,000, like the Subaru Crosstrek and Chevrolet Trax. Better yet, you can get all-wheel drive. So it really is the basic necessities that's going to draw you into the Corolla Cross, not what it's offering for future comforts or amenities, unless you go with the LE or XLE, which we did do a review of the XLE last year, which I think is a really great value, and also it's a smaller, more trimmed down version of a Toyota RAV4 for some of you who are on a stricter budget. And that really translates to the driving experience as well. For most subcompacts, they're basically lifted hatchbacks, but with the Corolla Cross, it doesn't feel that way, where you do sit pretty high up in this vehicle, nice commanding feel and presence over the roadways, nice panoramic view as well. A-pillars are somewhat aggressive, so you might have some blind spots here and there when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Then taking a look at your side mirrors, they are decently sized. I can see what's in my blind spots and the lane next to me. And then looking out back, you have a nice clear view there, even with the headrests in the way. And the seat positioning just gives you so much more safety when you are cruising around in the city and suburbs. Now, since we have the 17-inch wheels here, you go over the bumps and imperfections pretty well. The smaller tires do absorb some of the shock when you are going over those bumps and imperfections, but this is not going to be a refined or luxurious vehicle by any stretch of the imagination. The suspension does help out a bit here since it is softly tuned, but when you do go over the bumps and imperfections, you kind of bounce with the suspension, so keep all of that in mind. Now, since this is the L, interior insulation isn't going to be top-notch, so there will be some road noise here, even at around 40 miles an hour. We'll find out when we get on the highway, though, in a few minutes. Better yet, though, with this powertrain, it doesn't make that much noise, doesn't drone, and at least in the city so far, the CVT does do a pretty good job of simulating the gear shift, so there's not going to be that rubber band effect with this CVT, and Toyota's doing a pretty good job here with their transmissions, especially for vehicles that utilize a CVT or eCVT. I do think, though, that by going with the hybrid model for 2025 does make a lot more sense and provides a lot more value, but that does come at a cost, so keep all of that in mind. Steering input-wise, it is quite light but direct, so this vehicle does feel somewhat maneuverable in the corners, but not a lot of engagement, and I'm not surprised by that at all, nor am I demanding that out of a Corolla Cross. So let's get on the highway here and see what this 2-liter 4-cylinder has to offer. I will say, it is quite peppy, and yes, there's body roll, but the Corolla Cross has some agility in the corners. It does feel somewhat athletic. Alright, simulating the gear shift's pretty nice there. I'm maybe going 5/10 on throttle, though. See if we can pass a slower driver or two before I get off on the next exit. At highway speeds at around 65 miles an hour. Road noise really isn't too bad. It's not egregious, which is really all you could ask for out of an L. And despite the boxier shape, not a lot of wind noise, so pretty good here. Now obviously at 169 horsepower, there'll be some gasping for air, but it doesn't feel too underpowered. So most of your power does come in the low to mid range. But that's really all you need this vehicle for. But for a base model, and for a vehicle that is missing out on a lot of creature comforts and amenities, this is actually a decent experience here, especially if this is going to be your first crossover or first vehicle. All in all, after this quick test drive with the 2025 Toyota Corolla Cross L, this really is a great vehicle for those of you looking for affordable transportation. Some people might call this cheap transportation, but it really boils down to the intangibles. It really does. It boils down to what makes a great point A to point B vehicle. 1, all-wheel drive. 2, interior space, overall practicality. And for those of you who don't need a vehicle the size of the RAV4, nor do you want to spend over $30,000, the Corolla Cross is a great alternative in the lineup. It just comes down to what you're looking for. Do you want dual zone climate control? Do you want a power moonroof? Do you want some more creature comforts and amenities? You know, a soft text seating upholstery or a soft text steering wheel? You know, then you're gonna have to look at the LE or XLE. But if you don't care about any of that, you know, all you want is a vehicle that gets you to work, helps you drop off the kids at school, or you want a vehicle that's just practical and spacious. That's where the Corolla Cross L, I think, makes a lot of sense in 2025, even though I do think, though, that right now it does need a bit of a mid-cycle refresh for the technology, because some manufacturers are giving us digital gauge clusters here up front and also larger infotainment systems, but that's all superficial. It just comes down to the basic needs and necessities, and I think the Corolla Cross L provides all of that and then some. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Corolla Cross L. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.